Going on YouTube, Culturedog Sam Hatch back here with another Blu-ray review. Yeah, I've been doing a ton of Blu-ray reviews lately. So, hopefully you're digging them. I'll be coming back with some more Laserdisc content, obviously, soon. And there is a package arriving from Japan soon. I was hoping to have it ready for you shortly, but I'm keeping track of that tracking number. And once it arrives, I'll tear it open and show it to you guys. And I do have some kind of player videos I want to do for my CLDS 201, and I'm still working on my LDS one. Well, it's not really an elite player, but it's a reference player. So if you saw my pickups video, you saw this release. I happened to pick it up at Barnes & Noble. I'd been meaning to get it online for a while, because every time I saw it locally, it was always like $30 or $35 or something like that. Not that I don't want to support the filmmakers, but I was hoping to get a little bit cheaper, and I got a great sale at Barnes & Noble, and finally picked up a documentary that's been eluding me for a while. Frank Pavich's Jodorowsky's Dune, and this thing is right up my alley. I love documentaries about films, and I love documentaries about films that weren't, or films that almost never were. And going back to, well, obviously Hearts of Darkness, the fraught creation of Apocalypse Now was insanely fascinating. So I loved that, and there's been a few others through the years. Lost in La Mancha about Terry Gilliam's The Man Who Killed Don Quixote is amazing. Just the fact there's so much footage was actually shot. You have a Johnny Depp movie that was never finished, and parts of it are out there. It just boggles the mind. And then recently, I did the review for Lost Soul, which is about Richard Stanley's nightmarish experience trying to make The Island of Dr. Moreau in the 90s. And if you love those films as much as I do, you're definitely going to love Jodorowsky's Dune. And if you're a sci-fi fan too, you're going to want to check this out. Yeah, it's the Dune as the David Lynch failure, quote unquote, even though it does have a lot of fans, including myself, for what it is. The adaptation of Frank Herbert's novel that was an inspiration to a lot of people, including George Lucas, lifting quite a bit of it for Star Wars. And like any good documentary, this does get into the history of the story, the novel, what it was about briefly, and about Alejandro Jodorowsky and his career, and how he was this kind of bonkers, gonzo, surrealist, making these films like El Topo and this acid western and The Holy Mountain, and how he's not necessarily the first guy you would guess would make a science fiction epic or like a big studio movie. And this story kind of comes to fruition when a French producer named Michel Sardou ends up grabbing Jodorowsky's work and screening it in France and helping other people explore his work and kind of get an audience for him. And he just kind of pitched this concept of like, hey, what would you want to do if I just throw a bunch of money at you, etc. And Jodorowsky's like, Dune, I want to do Dune. Hadn't even really read the book, but just knew it was a good book, etc. And then what follows on is just this fascinating tale of synchronicity and like cosmic togetherness where everything in the universe is aligned perfectly. And it's just so cool. Jodorowsky's just this really, really enlivened, energetic talker, and this is a talking head documentary. I love talking head documentaries. If it's a fascinating subject, I can watch dudes and ladies in a room talking about that stuff forever, and it doesn't bother me that there's not enough cut scenes. So even though I'm of the MTV generation, I don't need constant flashing imagery to really draw me in. And this thing is so cool because, you have Jodorowsky just so excited about this project. And it was one of those cases where really there were no obstacles. You have a producer saying, we got the money, dude, just make this movie and make it your own. And they needed to get the rights to the book, no problem. He wants to get like two kind of sides of the story. If you haven't read Dune or seen the movie, it's a science fiction tale of this commodity, this spice that allows travel through space to even occur and all this other stuff. So it's the oil of the universe, and it's all derived from this one planet. And the villains, the Harkonnens, are supposed to cede control because there's a lot of political structures shown about it, the emperor of the universe and how things are decided between him and a guild of navigators that are the ones that control how travel through space is done. So it's cool. It's very intricate. And so politically, it's time for these villains to cede control of this planet, which is the planet where this magical spice comes from, to this other family, the Atreides family. And Paul is this very messianic character that has a mother from this strict religious sect that's ordered to birth women only, and it's this travesty that he's been born, and there are people that start to think he's a chosen one, etc. It's a mythologically rich tale, some cool science fiction, some cool ships and a cool desert planet with sandworms, etc. And yeah, a lot of good political intrigue behind it. So there's a lot going for it. So Jodorowsky wanted to really take that and add his kind of insane visual style to it as well. Wanted to take those like two elements of the story and have like a different creative team for each of them, like a Harkonnen creative team and an Atreides creative team. So he's like, I want to get Mobius, Jean-Paul Giraud, the French illustrator. I want to get him involved, and I want to get H.R. Giger involved. And every time he would say, I want to get this person involved, like the universe would just fold around him and just place them in his path, like either at his agent's office or wherever he just happened to go. He would set his mind to finding this person and convincing them to be involved in the film, and it would happen. So he gets in touch with Mick Jagger. He gets in touch with Orson Welles. He gets in touch with Salvador Dali. It just keeps convincing all these people to be in this grand film. And then stylistically, artistically, he gets, Jean-Paul Giraud, Mobius, as I mentioned, H.R. Giger, he gets on the team. Dan O'Bannon, he gets on the team, hot off of Dark Star, and obviously leading up to Alien. And then musically, he gets the French band Magma involved. He gets Pink Floyd involved, and there's a really cool story about him going to meet with Pink Floyd and about how nonplussed he was originally at their attitude and how they didn't immediately grasp the awesomeness of this. They didn't grok the awesomeness of this project right away. But the cool thing is he starts making this book, and this is like the Bible of Dune, this visual Bible, storyboards like to the nth degree, artistically rendered. He gets Ron Cobb involved as well to do some work, and it's just every element of the entire film is just laid out in graphic detail in this book. And he makes this book and shops it around, and then things get weird. Like a film that's almost completely financed needs just like a little bit more money, and just nobody is willing to bank on it. This guy is too strange. This project's too out there, etc. And it's so amazing that nobody was just willing to say, hey, let's go for it. And then, yeah, you just see everything start to crumble. And it's, starting off, it's almost impossible that this movie is not going to get made. And it doesn't. And then you have all the ripples from there on. And it's pretty much levied at the studios that have received this book and have received the treatment for it, that they eventually borrowed heavily from it. And so they kind of, at one point in the documentary, go ahead and show you all the bits in other movies that are very similar to this movie. And even some obvious homages, some of the bits of Giger's work in this for like the Harkonnen headquarters were used in Ridley Scott's Prometheus, etc., as a direct nod. But yeah, so it's kind of this sad tale where this mad genius, he gets his son involved in the film because his son acted in a lot of his films. So he actually trains him in martial arts to play Paul Atreides, and how, he feels kind of guilty about that because it was all for nothing. And this intense, like heartbreaking story, because you could see how much of a passion project it was for this guy. And it's cool. You have guys like Nicholas Winding Refn who have been able to see the book and see the film actually by viewing the book, with Jodorowsky there, and how that is pretty close to actually seeing the film in the theater. So it's an amazing missed opportunity, and I love those tales of missed opportunity. And the cool thing about this documentary is it also got some people together that hadn't been together for a long time, and involved Jodorowsky and Michel Seydoux to work together again. And it's really cool because of those ripples, because this is really what paves the way for Alien. Like Alien as we know it, the Ridley Scott film from 1979, really couldn't exist without this. Because this puts Dan O'Bannon, this puts Ron Cobb, This puts Mobius, all those guys together in one room as one team, and then they work again together on Alien. So really, that's the culmination of what this seeded. And yeah, love this. I'll watch this over and over and over again. So highly recommend it if you're a fan of sci-fi, if you're a fan of 70s films, if you're a fan of acid westerns, strange works of Jodorowsky, you're a fan of Frank Herbert's work, etc. And it does reference David Lynch and his film eventually as well too. So do yourself a favor, check this out. It's amazing. Audio video quality is what you would expect. It's in HD, but it's a talking head film. But there are a lot of cool, intricate bits with the imagery from the art of the book brought to life and layered, and you kind of move through it. I saw somebody complaining online somewhere that, oh, you could see all like the sketch marks and they didn't clean that up. I'm like, yeah, that's kind of the point. This was to show you, some of the pieces of art are a little bit more intricate than others and finalized, but some are just storyboard sketches, and they're brought to life as storyboard sketches with sketch marks and extraneous lines here and there. And they're not meant to be cleaned up. It's just meant to layer that and show you a little bit of a detailed, camera pan, etc., how it would look. The music's also really cool. It's very ambient and mysterious, and it's really fitting for the kind of spacey visuals that you see. And it does show you like what the opening of the film would be, which is very similar in fashion to something like Contact. But super cool. I almost wish someone would do an animated version. It does tell you that he did pretty much get to use a lot of these ideas and collaborate with Mobius on some graphic novels, which I do have to read a lot of that stuff. But yeah, so AV quality, again, it's just talking head footage, very well done. It's easy to hear, dialogue's really well, but yeah, it's not like a crazy 5.1 film. But again, the music is cool when it appears, and the kind of cut scenes where it visualizes the artistry of the film is cool. It's well done. Special features are also very nice. There's some deleted scenes that are copious and a lot of great stories. Unedited takes with Michel Seydoux, and a lot of extended takes about other stories behind the making of the film, and what their thoughts were about David Lynch's Dune, etc. So cool. A lot more copious behind the scenes stuff than I was expecting. So again, another slam dunk reason to pick up the Blu-ray if you are tempted to just rent it. If you do rent it, stream it, or something, you like it, absolutely pick up the Blu-ray, because the extra scenes are cool. That's the films like documentaries like this, American Movie or something like that. The first thing I want to do is see more of it. So I'm always wicked psyched when there's a decent amount of extra features on there. So yeah, man, Jodorowsky's Dune, awesome. I can't believe it took me this long to get it on Blu-ray. Super psyched that I have it, and I'm hoping there's some more films like this out there in my future and the world's future. So cheers, everybody. Hope you're having a good time. Talk to you soon, and yeah, thanks for hanging out on my channel. Cheers!